At Christmas dinner, my sister smiled and said, "Mom and Dad say I can move into your new condo next week." I took a sip of wine and replied, "Oh, thanks for letting me know in advance. You should move in on Tuesday." When she arrived on Tuesday afternoon, her smile disappeared right away. But let me back up and explain how we got here. My name is Danielle and I am 28 years old. I have worked since I was 16, starting with weekend shifts at a grocery store in Denver while finishing high school. After graduation, I enrolled in community college and worked full-time at a hotel as a front desk clerk. The hours were brutal, especially the overnight shifts, but I needed the money. My parents never offered to help with tuition or living expenses. They made it clear early on that I was expected to take care of myself. My younger sister, Vanessa, on the other hand, lived a completely different life. She was 24 and had never held a job for more than 3 months. Our parents paid for everything: her car, her phone bill, her credit cards, her shopping trips. When she dropped out of college after one semester because she found the classes too stressful, they did not even ask her to get a job. They just kept funding her lifestyle while she lounged around their house in Fort Collins, posting photos on social media and complaining about how boring everything was. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 19. I rented a tiny studio apartment that smelled like mildew and had a radiator that clanked all night. But it was mine. I worked my way up at the hotel, eventually becoming an assistant manager. I saved every dollar I could, skipping meals sometimes to put more money away. By the time I was 23, I had saved enough for a down payment on a small house in a decent neighborhood outside Denver. My parents did not attend the closing. My mother said they were busy that day. Vanessa did not even respond to my text about it. 2 years later, I bought a second property, a 2-bedroom condo in a newly renovated building in Lodo. It was a smart investment. The rental market in Denver was strong, and I knew I could get good tenants and steady income. I planned to use the rental income to pay down my mortgage faster and build more equity. I closed on the condo in early December. I was proud of myself. At 28, I owned 2 properties with manageable mortgages and a solid financial plan. I had worked hard for everything I had, and it felt good to see the results of all those years of sacrifice. I mentioned the condo to my parents during a phone call about Christmas dinner plans. I did not think much of it. I just said I had closed on an investment property and was excited about the rental income potential. My mother said, "Oh, that is nice, dear," and changed the subject to what dishes everyone should bring to Christmas dinner. Christmas Eve arrived and I drove to my parents' house in Fort Collins with a bottle of wine and a homemade apple pie. The house looked the same as always, the same decorations they had been using for 20 years, the same artificial tree in the corner of the living room, the same smell of ham baking in the oven. Vanessa was already there, sprawled on the couch with her phone, wearing pajama pants and an oversized sweatshirt. She barely looked up when I walked in. "Hey," I said. "Hey," she replied, not taking her eyes off her screen. My father was in the kitchen carving the ham. My mother was setting the table. Everything seemed normal. We sat down to eat around 7 in the evening, passing dishes and making small talk about the weather and the neighbors. Then, halfway through dinner, Vanessa looked up from her plate and smiled at me. It was a bright, excited smile, the kind I had not seen on her face in years. "So, Danielle," she said, her voice cheerful, "Mom and Dad say I can move into your new condo next week." I stopped chewing. I set down my fork and looked at her, then at my parents. My mother was focused on her green beans. My father was cutting another piece of ham. "Excuse me," I said. "Your condo in Lodo," Vanessa continued, still smiling. "Mom and Dad told me I could move in. I am so excited. I have been dying to get out of this house and live somewhere more exciting. Downtown is perfect." I looked at my parents again. My mother finally met my eyes and her expression was completely casual, as if we were discussing the weather. "Well, you have that extra property now," my mother said, "and Vanessa needs a place to live. It just makes sense." "It makes sense," I repeated slowly. "Yes," my father said, not looking up from his plate. "You are doing well, Danielle. You can afford to help your sister out." I took a sip of wine, letting the liquid sit in my mouth for a moment before swallowing. My mind was racing, but I kept my face neutral. Years of working in hospitality had taught me how to hide my emotions when necessary. "Oh," I said lightly. "Thanks for letting me know in advance." Vanessa's smile widened. "I know, right? I did not want to bother you with all the details. Mom and Dad said they would handle it." "You should move in on Tuesday," I said, taking another sip of wine. "Perfect," Vanessa said. "I already started packing." My mother looked relieved. My father nodded approvingly. Vanessa went back to her phone, probably already texting her friends about her exciting new downtown apartment. I finished my dinner in silence, answered questions when spoken to, and left around 9 with a polite smile and a wave goodbye. The drive back to my house took about an hour. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles white in the glow of the streetlights. I was furious, but I was also calculating. I had learned a long time ago that anger without strategy was useless. When I got home, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and a cup of coffee. It was nearly 10 at night, but I was wide awake. I opened my email and started drafting a rental listing for the condo. I had originally planned to wait until after the holidays to find tenants. Maybe take a few weeks to furnish the place and make it perfect. But plans change. I wrote a detailed description of the property. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, updated kitchen with stainless steel appliances, in-unit washer and dryer, balcony with a downtown view, walking distance to restaurants and shops. I listed the monthly rent at a competitive rate, knowing it would attract attention quickly. Then I took photos. I drove back downtown that night and spent 2 hours photographing every angle of the condo. The empty rooms actually looked better in photos than I expected. The hardwood floors gleamed under the lights, and the big windows made the space feel open and airy. By midnight, the listing was live on 3 different rental websites. I set my phone to notify me of any inquiries and finally went to bed. I woke up the next morning to 23 messages. Apparently, affordable 2-bedroom condos in downtown Denver were in high demand. I spent Christmas Day responding to inquiries, scheduling showings, and running background checks. By December 26th, I had 3 strong candidates. All of them had stable jobs, good credit, and excellent references. I scheduled in-person tours for the 27th. The first candidate was a young woman named Emily, who worked as a physical therapist at a rehabilitation center. She was professional, polite, and fell in love with the condo the moment she walked in. She asked thoughtful questions about the building amenities and the neighborhood. She had a steady income and had been at her job for 4 years. The second candidate was a couple, both teachers at a local middle school. They were friendly and enthusiastic, talking about how the location would cut their commute time in half. They had been renting in the suburbs and were excited about the idea of living downtown. The third candidate was a graduate student who worked part-time at a research lab. He was quiet but seemed responsible. His references were glowing, and his previous landlord said he had never missed a rent payment. I liked all 3 candidates, but Emily stood out. She had everything I was looking for in a tenant: stable income, clean background, good references, and a genuine appreciation for the property. I called her that evening and offered her the lease. "Really?" she said, her voice bright with excitement. "That is amazing. Thank you so much." "Can you sign the lease and move in next week?" I asked. "Absolutely," she said. "I can sign tomorrow if you want." "Perfect," I said. Let us meet at the condo on Friday at noon. I will be there, Emily said. We met on Friday, December 29th. Emily brought a cashier's check for the first month's rent, last month's rent, and the security deposit. We sat at the kitchen counter and went through the lease page by page. She read every section carefully, asked a few clarifying questions, and signed on the dotted line. When can I move in? She asked. Whenever you want, I said. You officially have the keys now. Emily beamed. I am thinking Tuesday. I have the week off work, so it is perfect timing. Tuesday works great, I said, handing her the keys. We shook hands, and she left with a bounce in her step, already texting someone about her new place. I sat in the empty condo for a few minutes after she left, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. The property was rented. I had a signed lease, payment in full, and a responsible tenant who would take care of the place. Everything was handled professionally and legally. I locked up and drove home, already planning how I would spend Tuesday afternoon. Over the weekend, I went about my normal routine. I worked my shifts at the hotel, ran errands, went to the gym. I did not contact my parents or Vanessa. They did not contact me either, which was typical. We were not a close family. We rarely spoke outside of obligatory holiday gatherings. On Monday night, I received a text from Vanessa. Still good for tomorrow, moving in around 2 p.m. I smiled and typed back, yes, see you then. She sent back a string of excited emojis. I went to bed early that night, setting my alarm for 7 in the morning. Tuesday was going to be an important day, and I wanted to be well rested. I woke up feeling calm and focused. I made myself a proper breakfast, something I rarely had time for on work days. Scrambled eggs, toast, fresh fruit, and coffee. I ate slowly, savoring each bite. Around noon, I texted Emily. Hey, just checking in. Are you moving in today? She responded immediately. Yes, the movers are loading the truck now. Should be there by 1 p.m. Perfect, I replied. Let me know if you need anything. Will do. Thanks again for everything. I spent the next hour cleaning my own house, doing laundry, and keeping myself busy. At 1:30, Emily texted me a photo of her new living room with boxes stacked against the wall. Made it. This place is even better than I remembered. I smiled and sent back a thumbs up emoji. At 1:45, my phone rang. It was my mother. Danielle, she said, her voice tight. Where are you? At home, I said. Why? Vanessa is at the condo, my mother said. There are people there, people moving furniture in. Oh, I said, keeping my voice light. Yes, those are my tenants. They moved in today. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Your tenants? My mother repeated. Yes, I said. I rented the condo out last week. I thought I mentioned that. You most certainly did not mention that, my mother said, her voice rising. Vanessa is standing outside with all her belongings. She is humiliated. I am sorry she is upset, I said. But the condo is rented now. I have a signed lease and everything. Danielle, this is unacceptable, my mother said. You knew she was moving in today. Actually, I did not know, I said calmly. No one asked me. You all just decided among yourselves that Vanessa would live in my property without ever consulting me. I own that condo. I paid for it with my own money, and I decided to rent it out. My mother sputtered on the other end of the line, searching for words. I could hear my father's voice in the background asking what was happening. I could also hear Vanessa crying, her voice high and shrill. This is your sister, my mother finally said. How could you do this to her? Do what? I asked. Rent out my own property? Use my investment to generate income like I planned? You are being selfish, my mother snapped. You have plenty of space. You have a whole house. You could have let her stay there for free. I said it was not a question. She is family, my mother said, as if that explained everything. So am I replied. But that did not stop you from expecting me to hand over my property without even asking me first. We told you at Christmas dinner, my mother said. You informed me of a decision you had already made, I corrected. That is not the same as asking. My father took the phone. His voice was stern, the same tone he used when I was a child and had done something he disapproved of. Danielle, you need to fix this, he said. Your sister is standing on the sidewalk crying. The neighbors are watching. This is embarrassing for all of us. I am sorry she is embarrassed, I said, but I cannot fix this. I have a legal lease agreement with a tenant who has already moved in. The condo is occupied. Break the lease, my father demanded. I cannot do that, I said, and I would not even if I could. This is my property and my decision. After everything we have done for you, my father said, his voice dripping with disappointment. I almost laughed. Everything you have done for me? Like what exactly? We raised you. You are legally obligated to do that, I said. I have been financially independent since I was 19. I paid for my own education, my own car, my own housing. You have never given me a single dollar of support since I moved out. Meanwhile, you have funded Vanessa's entire adult life, so do not talk to me about what you have done for me. There was silence. I could hear my mother crying now, too. Vanessa was still wailing in the background. You are being cruel, my father said quietly. No, I said. I am being fair. I worked hard for what I have. I sacrificed and saved for years to build financial security. Vanessa has never worked for anything in her life, and you enabled that. You made her believe that she could just take whatever she wanted without asking, without earning it, without even considering that other people have rights and boundaries. She is your sister, my father repeated, as if saying it enough times would change my mind. And I am your daughter, I said. But you never treated me the way Vanessa was treated. You never paid my bills or bought me cars or let me live rent-free. You expected me to handle everything on my own, so I did. And now I am handling my own property in the way I see fit. My father was silent for a long moment. Then he said, Your mother and I are very disappointed in you. I can live with that, I said. Goodbye. I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking slightly, adrenaline coursing through my body. I set the phone down on the kitchen counter and took a deep breath. I had just drawn a line in the sand with my family, and there was no going back from it. But I did not regret it. Not for a second. My phone buzzed with text messages. First from my mother, then from Vanessa, then from my mother again. I did not read them. I silenced my phone and put it in a drawer. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my back porch, looking out at my small but well-maintained yard. I had planted flowers along the fence line last spring, and they were still blooming despite the winter chill. I had painted the porch myself, choosing a soft gray that complemented the house's exterior. Every part of this place reflected my hard work and my choices. The condo downtown was the same. I had chosen it carefully, negotiated a fair price, secured financing, and closed the deal all on my own. It was mine, not my parents', not Vanessa's, mine, and I had every right to decide what to do with it. I sipped my wine slowly, feeling the tension in my shoulders gradually ease. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was beautiful. Around 6 in the evening, I pulled my phone out of the drawer and checked the messages. There were 12 texts total. Most of them were variations of, "How could you do this?" and You are tearing this family apart and Vanessa is devastated. There was one text from Vanessa that stood out. I had to go back to Mom and Dad's house. Everyone saw me get turned away. I am so humiliated. How could you? I read it twice, then deleted it without responding. There was also a voicemail from my mother. I listened to it. Danielle, this is your mother. I do not know what has gotten into you, but this behavior is unacceptable. Your sister needed that apartment. She had plans. She told all her friends she was moving downtown. Now she has to tell them she is still living at home like a child. You have humiliated her. You have humiliated all of us. I hope you are happy. The voicemail ended with a click. I saved it just in case I ever needed documentation of their behavior, then put my phone back in the drawer. I made myself dinner, grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, and a side salad. I ate at my kitchen table, alone, but not lonely. I had learned a long time ago that being alone was better than being surrounded by people who did not respect me. After dinner, I washed the dishes, put on comfortable clothes, and settled onto my couch with a book I had been meaning to read for months. For the first time in weeks, I felt completely at peace. My property was rented to a good tenant. My finances were solid. My boundaries were clear, and my family finally understood that I was not a doormat they could walk all over whenever they wanted something. The next morning, I woke up to find that my parents and Vanessa had blocked me on social media. I discovered this when I tried to look at a photo my mother had posted of the Christmas dinner, wanting to see if there were any telling details I had missed about their plan. Instead, I found blank profiles and error messages. It was almost funny. They had decided that cutting me off digitally was some kind of punishment, as if I had been desperately clinging to their online presence. In reality, I check their pages maybe once a month, usually out of boredom rather than genuine interest. I went to work that day feeling lighter than I had in years. My manager noticed the change in my mood and commented on it during our morning meeting. "You seem happy today," she said. "Good holiday." "Very productive," I replied with a smile. The hotel was busy with New Year's tourists, and I threw myself into work. I helped guests with reservations, solved problems, coordinated with housekeeping, and handled a minor crisis when one of the elevators broke down. By the end of my shift, I was tired, but satisfied. When I got home that evening, there was a card taped to my front door. I recognized my mother's handwriting on the envelope. I pulled it down and went inside, tossing my keys on the counter before opening it. The card had a generic image of flowers on the front. Inside, my mother had written a long message in her neat, precise script. "Danielle, your father and I have been talking, and we think you need to reconsider your actions. Family is the most important thing in life, and you have hurt Vanessa deeply. She has been crying for 2 days straight. She barely eats. She will not leave her room. You did this to her. We raised you to be kind and generous, but you have become selfish and cold. We are giving you 1 week to reconsider. If you terminate the lease with your tenant and give Vanessa the apartment like we agreed, we can move past this. If not, you need to understand that there will be consequences. We will not be able to have a relationship with someone who treats family this way. The choice is yours." I read the card 3 times, each time feeling a different emotion. First disbelief, then anger, then something close to relief. They were giving me an ultimatum. They actually believed that threatening to cut me off would make me cave to their demands. They thought I needed them more than I needed my own self-respect. I walked to my kitchen, opened the drawer where I kept matches, and took the card outside to my back porch. I held it over my small fire pit and lit one corner, watching as the flames consumed my mother's careful handwriting. The paper curled and blackened, and within seconds it was nothing but ash. I did not respond to the card. I did not call or text. I simply went on with my life as if nothing had happened. 3 days later, my aunt called me. She was my mother's younger sister, and we had never been particularly close. She lived 2 hours away and usually only showed up at major holidays. "Danielle," she said when I answered. "I heard about what happened with Vanessa." "Did you?" I said flatly. "Your mother is very upset," my aunt continued. "She called me crying yesterday. She said you refused to let Vanessa live in your apartment." "My condo," I corrected. "And I did not refuse. I was never asked." They decided among themselves that Vanessa would move in without consulting me. By the time they bothered to inform me, I had already rented it to a paying tenant. "Still," my aunt said, "Vanessa is family. Could you not have made an exception?" "Why?" I asked. "Why should I make an exception for someone who has never worked for anything, who has never shown me any respect or consideration, who has never even thanked me for a single thing I have done?" "Because she is your sister," my aunt said, as if this was the most obvious thing in the world. "That is not a good enough reason," I said. "Being related to someone does not give them automatic rights to your property or your resources." My aunt sighed. "You know, Danielle, not everything is about money and property. Sometimes family is more important than being right." "I agree," I said. "Family should be important. But family also means respecting boundaries and treating each other fairly. My parents have never done that. They have always favored Vanessa, always expected me to be the responsible one while she got to do whatever she wanted. I am done accepting that dynamic." "So you are just going to cut them off?" my aunt asked. "They are the ones threatening to cut me off," I pointed out. "They sent me a card saying they cannot have a relationship with me unless I do what they want. That is manipulation, not love." My aunt was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I think you are making a mistake. Family is forever. You will regret this." "Maybe," I said, "but I doubt it." After I hung up, I realized my hands were trembling again, not from fear or uncertainty, but from the sheer exhaustion of having to explain myself over and over to people who had already decided I was wrong. I checked my phone and saw that Emily had texted me a photo of her fully furnished living room. The condo looked beautiful. She had added plants, artwork, and cozy touches that made the space feel like a real home. Loving this place. "Thank you again for being such a great landlord." I smiled and texted back, "So glad you are settling in well. Let me know if you need anything." That evening, I decided to treat myself. I had been working hard and dealing with family drama for days. I deserved something nice. I drove to my favorite restaurant downtown, a small Italian place that made incredible pasta. I ordered a glass of red wine and their special of the day, a mushroom risotto that was perfectly creamy and flavorful. I ate slowly, savoring each bite and watching the other diners around me. There were couples on dates, families with young children, groups of friends celebrating something. Everyone seemed happy and relaxed. It was a nice reminder that life existed outside of my family's dysfunction. As I finished my meal, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "This is Vanessa. Mom gave me your number since you blocked us. I just want you to know that you ruined my life. I had everything planned. I was going to start fresh downtown, maybe get a job at one of the boutiques, meet new town, maybe get a job at one of the boutiques, meet new people. Now I am stuck at home with Mom and Dad treating me like a failure. Everyone knows what happened. My friends keep asking me why I am not downtown yet. I do not know what to tell them. You did this. You could have helped me, but you chose to be selfish instead. I hope you are happy." I read the message twice, then blocked the number. I paid my check, left a generous tip, and walked back to my car. The night air was cool and crisp, and the downtown lights sparkled against the dark sky. I felt calm and clear-headed. Vanessa wanted me to feel guilty. My parents wanted me to feel guilty. My aunt wanted me to feel guilty. But I did not. I felt free. The week my parents had given me to reconsider passed without any communication from me. I went to work, paid my bills, checked in with Emily to make sure everything was going well with the condo, and lived my life exactly as I wanted to. On the 8th day, my phone rang at 7 a.m. It was my father. I almost did not answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello?" I said. "Danielle," my father said. His voice was cold and formal. "Your week is up. Have you reconsidered?" "No," I said simply. "Then this is goodbye," my father said. "Your mother and I cannot have a relationship with someone who treats family the way you have treated Vanessa. You have made your choice, and we have made ours." "Okay," I said. There was a pause. I think he expected me to beg or cry or try to change his mind. When I said nothing else, he continued, "We will not be inviting you to family events anymore. Birthdays, holidays, nothing. As far as we are concerned, you are no longer part of this family." "I understand," I said calmly. "You understand?" my father repeated, his voice rising slightly. "That is all you have to say?" "What do you want me to say?" I asked. "You have given me an ultimatum. I am not going to break a legal lease and kick out a good tenant just to appease you. So if that means you do not want a relationship with me, then that is your decision." "It is your decision," my father said. "You are choosing property over family." "No," I said. "I am choosing self-respect over manipulation. There is a difference." My father made a sound of disgust. "I do not even know who you are anymore." "Yes, you do," I said. "I am the same person I have always been. I work hard. I take care of myself. And I do not let people take advantage of me. The only thing that has changed is that I am no longer pretending to be okay with how you treat me." "We have always treated you fairly," my father said. "That is not true, and you know it," I replied. "But it does not matter anymore. If you want to cut me out of your life because I would not give Vanessa free housing, then do it. I will be fine." My father hung up without saying goodbye. I sat on the edge of my bed for a few minutes, phone still in my hand. I waited for the sadness or regret to hit me, but it never came. Instead, I felt oddly peaceful. The decision had been made. There was no more uncertainty. No more waiting for the other shoe to drop. It was done. I got ready for work and went about my day as usual. I did not cry. I did not call anyone to talk about it. I just accepted it and moved forward. Over the next few weeks, I discovered just how little my family had actually been involved in my life. I did not miss the awkward phone calls where my mother complained about everything and barely asked how I was doing. I did not miss the guilt trips or the constant comparisons to Vanessa. I did not miss feeling like I was never good enough no matter what I accomplished. What I did notice was how much more energy I had without the constant drain of family drama. I felt lighter. I started going to the gym more regularly. I took a weekend trip to Colorado Springs just because I felt like it. I read books, tried new recipes, and reconnected with old friends who actually appreciated me. Emily turned out to be an ideal tenant. She paid rent on time every month, kept the place immaculate, and occasionally sent me photos of small improvements she had made with my permission. She had painted one of the bedrooms a soft blue and added floating shelves. It looked professional and beautiful. In February, she texted me about a small leak under the kitchen sink. I called a plumber immediately and had it fixed within 24 hours. Emily was impressed by how quickly I responded. "You are seriously the best landlord I have ever had," she texted. "Most people would have taken days to deal with this." "I take care of my properties," I replied. "And good tenants like you deserve responsive service." It felt good to be appreciated. It felt good to have a professional relationship built on mutual respect, rather than one-sided expectations. Meanwhile, I heard through the grapevine that Vanessa was still living with my parents and still unemployed. My aunt let it slip during a chance encounter at the grocery store in late February. She looked uncomfortable when she saw me, as if she was not sure whether she should acknowledge me or pretend we were strangers. "Hello, Danielle," she finally said. "Hello," I replied politely. "How are you?" she asked, though her tone suggested she did not really want to know. "I am doing well," I said. "How are you?" "Fine, fine," she said. "I saw your mother last week. She is still very upset about everything." "I am sorry to hear that," I said, though I was not sorry at all. "Vanessa is having a hard time," my aunt continued, apparently unable to help herself. "She has not been able to find a job. Your mother thinks the whole situation has affected her confidence." "That is unfortunate," I said neutrally. My aunt looked at me expectantly, as if waiting for me to express guilt or offer to fix the situation. When I said nothing else, she sighed. "Well, I should go," she said. "Take care of yourself, Danielle." "You too," I said. I watched her walk away, her cart full of groceries, and felt absolutely nothing. No guilt, no regret, no desire to reach out and make amends, just a mild sense of relief that the conversation was over. In March, I received a letter in the mail from my parents. It was addressed formally with my full name typed on the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a brief message. "Danielle, we are writing to inform you that we are removing you from our will. Since you have chosen to prioritize money and property over family, we see no reason to leave you any inheritance. Everything will go to Vanessa, who understands the value of family. We hope you find happiness in your choices." The letter was signed by both my parents, their signatures precise and final. I read it once, then folded it and put it in a file folder with other important documents. It was not a surprise. In fact, I had expected something like this. My parents had always used money and gifts as tools of control, and removing me from the will was just another attempt to punish me. The thing they did not understand was that I had never counted on an inheritance. I had built my own financial security. I did not need their money. I never had. Spring arrived, and with it came a new opportunity. The hotel where I worked announced that they were opening a second location in Cherry Creek, and they needed an experienced manager to help set it up and run it. The position came with a significant raise and more responsibility. I applied immediately and was offered the job within a week. My boss told me that I was the obvious choice, that my work ethic and professionalism had always stood out. "You are one of the most reliable people I have ever worked with," she said. "I have no doubt you will make this new location a success." I started the new position in April, throwing myself into the challenge of opening a new hotel. There were a million details to manage: hiring staff, setting up systems, coordinating with vendors, ensuring everything was ready for the grand opening. It was exhausting, but exhilarating. The new hotel opened in May, and it was a triumph. We had a steady stream of guests from day one, excellent reviews, and a team that worked well together. I felt proud of what we had accomplished. Around this same time, I started dating someone I had met through a friend. His name was Matt, and he worked as an architect. He was kind, funny, and respectful. When I told him about the situation with my family, he listened without judgment. "That must have been difficult," he said. "It was," I admitted, but it was also necessary. I could not keep letting them treat me that way. I think you made the right choice, Matt said. Family should support you, not tear you down. It was refreshing to be with someone who understood that healthy relationships required boundaries and mutual respect. We took things slowly, enjoying each other's company without rushing into anything serious. In June, Emily texted me with some news. Hey Danielle, I wanted to let you know that I got a promotion at work. I will be traveling more for my job, which is exciting. The condo is perfect for me right now, but I wanted to give you a heads up that I might need to move to a different city in a year or so, depending on how things go with work. I will obviously give you plenty of notice. Just wanted to keep you in the loop. Congratulations on the promotion, I texted back. And thank you for letting me know. I really appreciate having such a communicative tenant. Keep me posted on your plans. Emily's message made me think about the future of the condo. If she moved out eventually, I would need to find a new tenant. But that was a problem for another day. For now, everything was working perfectly. One Saturday afternoon in July, I was at a coffee shop downtown working on some paperwork for the hotel when I overheard a conversation at the next table. Two women were talking, and one of them mentioned my parents by name. I glanced over and recognized one of the women as a former neighbor from my parents' street. I had not seen her in years, but her voice was distinctive. I feel so bad for them, she was saying. Their daughter completely cut them off over nothing. Just refused to help her own sister. Can you imagine? That is awful, the other woman replied. Family should come first. Exactly, the neighbor said. And poor Vanessa. She is still living at home, you know. I see her sometimes when I drive by. She looks so sad. The whole situation has been hard on everyone. I kept my head down, pretending to focus on my laptop. Part of me wanted to turn around and tell them the truth, to explain that they only had one side of the story. But I knew it would not matter. People believed what they wanted to believe, and my parents had clearly painted themselves as the victims. I finished my coffee and left without saying anything. Let them think what they wanted. I knew the truth, and that was enough. In August, I got an unexpected message on social media from a cousin I had not spoken to in years. Her name was Olivia, and she was the daughter of my father's brother. We had been close as children but had drifted apart as adults. Hey Danielle, her message read. I hope this does not come out of nowhere, but I heard about what happened with your parents and Vanessa. I just wanted you to know that I do not think you did anything wrong. I have watched how they treat you versus how they treat Vanessa for years, and it has always bothered me. You have worked so hard for everything you have, and they had no right to expect you to just hand over your property. Anyway, I just wanted to reach out and say that if you ever want to grab coffee or catch up, I would love to hear how you are doing. I stared at the message for a long time, feeling a warmth in my chest that I had not expected. Someone in my family actually saw the situation clearly. Someone understood. I wrote back immediately. Olivia, thank you so much for reaching out. Your message means more than you know. I would love to catch up. Are you free next weekend? We made plans to meet for brunch the following Saturday. When we finally sat down together, it felt like no time had passed. Olivia was warm and genuine, and she listened to my side of the story without interrupting or judging. I always knew your parents favored Vanessa, Olivia said. My dad used to comment on it too. He thought it was unfair how much they expected from you while giving Vanessa a free pass for everything. It feels good to hear someone else say that, I admitted. I have spent so long wondering if I was crazy or selfish for feeling the way I did. You are not crazy, Olivia said firmly. You set a boundary and they could not handle it. That is on them, not you. We talked for hours, catching up on our lives and making plans to see each other more regularly. It was a reminder that family did not have to be defined by biology alone. The people who truly cared about you were the ones who showed up and supported you regardless of blood ties. As summer turned to fall, my life continued to improve. My job was going well. My relationship with Matt was developing nicely, and my friendship with Olivia had become a regular source of joy. The condo was generating steady income, and Emily remained an excellent tenant. I had built a good life for myself, one based on hard work, self-respect, and healthy boundaries. And I had done it all without my parents' approval or support. October arrived with cooler temperatures and changing leaves. I was walking through a shopping center one Saturday afternoon when I ran into Vanessa. It was the first time I had seen her since Christmas dinner nearly 10 months ago. She was coming out of a clothing store carrying several shopping bags. When she saw me, her face went through a series of expressions: surprise, anger, and then something that looked almost like shame. "Danielle," she said. "Vanessa," I replied calmly. We stood there for a moment, neither of us quite sure what to say. She looked different, older somehow, though it had only been 10 months. There were dark circles under her eyes, and her clothes looked expensive but ill-fitting, as if she had lost or gained weight recently. "How have you been?" I asked, more out of politeness than genuine interest. "Fine," she said quickly. Too quickly. "Great, actually. Really great." "Good to hear," I said. "I have been busy," Vanessa continued, her words coming faster now. "Really busy. I am thinking about going back to school, or maybe starting a business. I have lots of options." "That sounds nice," I said neutrally. Vanessa's face flushed. "I know what you are thinking. You think I am lazy and useless. You think I cannot do anything on my own." "I have not said anything like that," I pointed out. "You do not have to say it," Vanessa snapped. "I can see it in your face. You have always looked down on me. You have always thought you were better than me because you have a job and a house." "I do not think I am better than you," I said. "But I do think I made different choices. I chose to work hard and build something for myself. You chose to let Mom and Dad take care of everything. Those were our choices." "I did not choose anything," Vanessa said, her voice rising. "They offered. They wanted to help me." "They enabled you," I corrected. "There is a difference." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. "You ruined everything. I could have had a fresh start downtown. I could have figured things out. But you took that away from me." "I did not take anything away from you," I said firmly. "That condo was never yours. It was mine. I bought it with my own money, and I chose to rent it out. What you and Mom and Dad decided among yourselves was not my problem." "You could have helped me," Vanessa said. "I could have," I agreed. "But I chose not to. And I do not regret that decision." Vanessa stared at me for a long moment, tears streaming down her face. Then she turned and walked away quickly, her shopping bag swinging at her sides. I watched her go, feeling nothing but a mild sense of sadness. Not for my decision, but for the fact that she still had not learned anything. She still believed the world owed her something, that other people should sacrifice for her comfort. I continued my shopping and went home, putting the encounter out of my mind. 2 weeks later, I received a phone call from Olivia. "Danielle, have you seen the post?" she asked. "What post?" I said. "Your mother posted something on social media about you." "It is pretty bad. I thought you should know." My stomach tightened. What did she say? "She wrote this long thing about ungrateful children and how she and your dad sacrificed everything to raise you, only to have you abandon the family. She did not use your name, but it is obvious she is talking about you. A lot of people are commenting, saying terrible things." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Can you send me a screenshot? Already done, Olivia said. Check your messages. I opened the message and read my mother's post. It was long and dramatic, full of phrases like heartbroken parents and selfish generation and we gave her everything. The comments were even worse. People I had never met were calling me ungrateful, spoiled, and heartless. Are you okay? Olivia asked. I am fine, I said. And surprisingly, I was. She can post whatever she wants. The people who matter know the truth. Do you want to respond? Olivia asked. Set the record straight. No, I said. Responding would just give her more attention. Let her have her moment. It does not change anything. But even as I said the words, I felt a spark of anger building in my chest. Not because my mother had posted about me, but because she was still trying to control the narrative. She was still trying to make herself the victim. I thought about it for the rest of the day. My mother had sent me an ultimatum. She had removed me from the will. She had told family members lies about what happened, and now she was publicly shaming me on social media. And through it all, I had remained silent. I had taken the high road, refused to engage, and moved on with my life. But maybe it was time for a different approach. Maybe it was time to stop being silent and start speaking up. That evening, I sat down at my computer and began typing. Not a response to my mother's post, but something bigger. Something that would tell my side of the story in a way that could not be ignored or dismissed. I wrote for hours, crafting my words carefully. I wanted to be honest, but not cruel. Factual, but not cold. By the time I finished, it was past midnight, but I felt satisfied with what I had written. I saved the document and went to bed, already planning my next move. The next morning, I called Olivia. I need your help with something, I said. Anything, Olivia replied. Do you remember my parents' anniversary party a few years ago? The one where they invited the whole family? Of course, Olivia said. It was at that restaurant downtown. Big celebration for their 30th anniversary. Do you remember how they spent the whole night talking about how proud they were of both their daughters? I asked. Yes, Olivia said slowly. And I remember thinking it was weird because they barely mentioned you at all. It was all about Vanessa. Exactly, I said. And do you remember Thanksgiving 2 years ago when my mother told everyone I was too busy with work to help with dinner, when the truth was, she never asked me to help? I remember that too, Olivia said. You told me later that you had offered multiple times, and she kept saying she did not need help. I need you to help me document these things, I said. Every time my parents lied about me or dismissed me or favored Vanessa, I want a clear record of the pattern of behavior. Can you help me remember the details? Absolutely, Olivia said. I have been watching this happen for years. I can give you plenty of examples. We spent the next 2 hours on the phone going through memories and incidents. Olivia had a sharp memory and was able to recall specific conversations and moments that I had half forgotten. By the end of the call, I had pages of notes. What are you planning to do with all this? Olivia asked. I am not sure yet, I admitted. But I want to be prepared. If my mother wants to make this public, then maybe I should too. Just be careful, Olivia said. Once you put something out there, you cannot take it back. I know, I said, and I am going to think about it carefully before I do anything. But even as I said it, I knew I had already made up my mind. I was done being silent. I was done letting my parents control the narrative. Over the next few days, I refined my statement. I fact-checked every detail, made sure my tone was calm and measured, and prepared myself for whatever backlash might come. Then, on a Thursday evening, I posted it. I did not post it as a response to my mother's social media rant. Instead, I created my own post on my own page. a detailed explanation of what had actually happened. I explained how I had worked since I was 16, while my parents funded Vanessa's lifestyle. I explained how I had bought the condo as an investment property with my own money. I explained how my parents had informed me at Christmas dinner that Vanessa would be moving in without ever asking me first. I explained how I had already rented the property to a qualified tenant before Vanessa showed up. I included specific examples of how my parents had treated me differently from Vanessa over the years, not in a bitter or angry way, but simply as facts. I let the truth speak for itself. I ended the post with a simple statement. I love my family, but I will not be manipulated or guilted into giving up my property or my self-respect. I worked hard for what I have, and I have the right to make my own decisions about my own life. If that makes me selfish in their eyes, then so be it. I hit post and closed my laptop. Within an hour, the post had dozens of comments. Most of them were supportive. Friends, coworkers, and even people I barely knew were commenting with messages like, "Good for you," and "You did the right thing," and "Your family should be proud of you, not tearing you down." A few comments were negative, mostly from people who believed family should always come first, regardless of circumstances. But even those comments were outnumbered by the supportive ones. By the next morning, the post had been shared over 100 times. People were messaging me privately to share their own stories of family dysfunction and boundary setting. It was overwhelming, but also validating. Olivia called me that afternoon. "Have you seen your mother's page?" she asked. "No," I said. "Should I?" "She deleted her post about you," Olivia said, "and she has not posted anything since. I think she realized that her version of events does not hold up when people hear your side." I felt a surge of satisfaction. "Good. There is more," Olivia said. "My dad called me this morning. He said your father called him yesterday trying to get family members to pressure you into taking down your post. But my dad refused. He told your father that he had read your post and thought you were completely justified in everything you did." "Really?" I said, surprised. "Really?" Olivia confirmed. "And he is not the only one. A lot of the family is starting to question your parents' version of events. People are asking questions about why they treated you and Vanessa so differently. Your parents are not getting the sympathy they expected." I sat down on my couch processing this information. I had not posted my statement to turn the family against my parents. I had posted it to tell the truth and protect my own reputation. But apparently the truth had consequences beyond what I had anticipated. "How do you feel about all this?" Olivia asked. "Honestly," I said, "I feel free for the first time in my life. I feel like I do not have to pretend everything is fine. I can just be honest about what happened and people can make up their own minds." 3 days after I posted my statement, my mother called me. I almost did not answer, but curiosity won out. "Danielle," she said. Her voice was tight and controlled. "We need to talk about that horrible thing you posted on social media." "What about it?" I asked. "You made us look like terrible parents." "I told the truth," I said. "If the truth makes you look bad, that is not my fault." "You embarrassed us," my mother said. "The whole family is talking about it. People are asking us questions. Your aunt refused to come to dinner last week because she said she needed time to think about everything." "I am sorry you are embarrassed," I said. "But I am not sorry I posted it. You posted about me first, remember? You tried to make me look like an ungrateful, selfish daughter. I just provided context." "We are your parents," my mother said. "You should respect us." "Respect goes both ways," I replied. "And you have not respected me for years. You expected me to hand over my property to Vanessa without asking. You cut me out of your will. You sent me ultimatums and tried to manipulate me. You do not get to demand respect when you have not given me any. There was a long silence. I could hear my mother breathing on the other end of the line. What do you want from us? She finally asked, and her voice sounded tired. I do not want anything from you, I said honestly. I just want to live my life without being guilted or manipulated. That is all I have ever wanted. So that is it? My mother asked. You are just done with us? You were the ones who said we could not have a relationship unless I did what you wanted, I reminded her. I am just accepting the terms you set. Maybe we were too harsh, my mother said quietly. Your father and I have been talking. Maybe we overreacted. I felt a flicker of something. Not hope exactly, but curiosity. What are you saying? I am saying maybe we can work this out, my mother said. If you take down that post, we can start over. We can put all of this behind us. And there it was. The condition. Even now, even after everything, they could not just apologize without asking for something in return. No, I said. No, my mother repeated. The post stays up, I said. It is the truth, and I am not going to erase it just to make you comfortable. If you want to have a relationship with me, it needs to be based on mutual respect and honesty, not on me doing whatever you want in exchange for your approval. That is not fair, my mother protested. Actually, it is the definition of fair, I said. I am not asking you to do anything except treat me like an equal, like an adult who has the right to make her own decisions. If you cannot do that, then we have nothing more to talk about. My mother was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I need to think about this. This is not what I expected. Take all the time you need, I said. But my position is not going to change. She hung up without saying goodbye. I set my phone down and looked around my living room, my comfortable, peaceful living room in the house I had bought with my own money. I had built a good life. I had friends who supported me, a relationship that made me happy, a job I was proud of, and property that generated income. I had everything I needed, and if my parents could not accept that, it was their loss, not mine. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from my father. It was handwritten, which surprised me. My father rarely wrote anything by hand. Danielle, the letter began. Your mother and I have spent a lot of time thinking about what you said. We do not agree with everything you posted, but we can see that we made mistakes. We treated you and Vanessa differently, and that was not fair to you. We expected you to be responsible and independent while letting Vanessa depend on us. We see now that this created resentment. We would like to try to rebuild our relationship if you are willing. We are not asking you to take down your post or apologize for setting boundaries. We are just asking for a chance to start fresh. If you are open to talking, please let us know. I read the letter 3 times. It was not a perfect apology. It still had phrases like, we do not agree with everything. That showed they were not fully accepting responsibility. But it was more than I had expected. It was a start. I decided to wait a few days before responding. I wanted to make sure I was making the decision with a clear head, not out of loneliness or a desperate need for family connection. After careful consideration, I wrote back. I appreciate your letter. I am willing to have a conversation, but only if we can establish clear boundaries. I need you to understand that my property and my finances are my own, and I will not be pressured into making decisions based on what you think I should do. I need you to treat me and Vanessa equally, which means expecting her to be responsible for her own life, just like you expected me to be. If we can agree on those terms, then yes, we can try to rebuild, but I will not go back to the way things were. I mailed the letter and waited. A week later, my parents called and asked if I would meet them for coffee. I agreed. We met at a neutral location, a cafe halfway between my house and theirs. The conversation was awkward at first, stilted and careful, but slowly we began to talk about real things. My mother admitted that she had always found it easier to take care of Vanessa than to let her struggle. My father admitted that he had taken my independence for granted and assumed I did not need their support. I explained how their favoritism had hurt me over the years, how it had made me feel like I was only valued for what I could provide, not for who I was. It was not a perfect conversation. There were moments of tension and defensiveness, but it was honest, and that was something we had never really had before. At the end of the meeting, my mother asked, "What about Vanessa? She is still very upset about everything." "Vanessa needs to learn to take care of herself," I said firmly. "And you need to stop enabling her. She is 24 years old. It is time for her to grow up." My father nodded slowly. "You are right. We have been doing her a disservice." "What if she does not want to change?" my mother asked. "That is her choice," I said. "But it should not be your problem to solve anymore." As the months passed, my parents slowly began to shift their approach with Vanessa. They stopped paying all her bills. They gave her a deadline to either get a job or move out. It was hard for them, and Vanessa fought it every step of the way. But they held firm. By spring, Vanessa had found a job as a receptionist at a dental office. It was not glamorous, but it was a start. She moved into a small apartment with a roommate and began slowly and reluctantly to build her own life. My relationship with my parents improved gradually. We would never be close the way some families were, but we found a way to coexist with mutual respect. They stopped making demands, and I stopped expecting them to change overnight. The condo continued to generate steady income. Emily eventually moved for her job just as she had predicted, and I found another excellent tenant to take her place. My career continued to flourish, and Matt and I moved in together after a year of dating. As for Vanessa, she eventually came to me with a grudging apology. It was not heartfelt, and I could tell she still resented me on some level. But she acknowledged that being forced to take care of herself had been good for her. She was learning things she should have learned years ago. The experience taught my family that boundaries were not punishments, but necessary structures for healthy relationships. My parents learned that treating children equally meant having equal expectations, not just equal affection. Vanessa learned that no one owed her a free ride through life, and I learned that standing up for myself was not selfish. It was essential. In the end, Vanessa never recovered from the humiliation of being turned away from the condo that day. The story spread through her social circles, and she became known as the woman whose sister refused to let her freeload. She struggled to rebuild her reputation and her sense of self-worth. My parents, too, faced consequences. Several family members distanced themselves after learning how they had treated me, and their social standing within the family diminished. They spent years trying to repair relationships they had damaged through their favoritism and manipulation, never quite regaining the respect they once had. As I sat on my porch one evening, watching the sunset over the city I had built my life in, I reflected on my revenge journey. It had not been about cruelty or spite. It had been about refusing to be treated as less than I deserved, about drawing a line and refusing to cross it, no matter how much pressure was applied. Sometimes the most powerful revenge was simply living well and refusing